Hi everyone, Wolf Branch Homestead, and we are out here in the woods with the goats, going on a little walk and browse. And this time, we're going to go down towards the branch, so you can see part of where Wolf Branch got its name from. Now, one thing you'll see quite a bit out here are pieces of quartz, and there's some big random pieces out in the woods like this, but we leave them as they are because places like that, the squirrels like to go over and crack acorns and eat them. Little animals like to perch or hide beneath them. We are going to walk down and see what the water looks like after all of our recent rain. I think I have a leaf in my hair. Yep. Got one stuck from going up by the beech trees. So again, if you haven't met everybody, there's Dad, Kuwabara, Mom, Botan, and their son, Yusuke. We're back down here kind of where we left off last time, where the beech trees are at and the wild azalea. Some big, beautiful oak trees. Well, over the years, we have used some trees for firewood or different building projects like the cabin. There still are lots of beautiful, healthy trees out here. Another big example. It's got very dark bark, kind of like a hickory, but the pattern's not right. I had a bug go in my mouth, of course. Now this right here, this bark pattern looks correct to be a hickory. I think we have pig nut and mocker nut that I know of. We've got some of the little cane that grows down here close to the water. And as far as I remember, I'm not sure if anybody knows a little bit more about it, but I think there are two types of that smaller cane that grow in Alabama, and one is, I believe, endemic. I'm not sure if it's for a specific area or if it's just an actual state one. The goats are a little bit wary, so watching body language helps, like we've talked about before. Making sure that they are feeling comfortable, and we're watching for any little possible predators or some deer that are out. Got a little holly bush. That's a big drop off. Be careful. There we go. We're getting up on quite a few nice bay trees. Some big, tall ones. The root systems of these are amazing. And you see the different trees that are right by the branch. I don't immediately see any tracks down there, but it's definitely changed up a lot in this particular area over the past few storms. Another beautiful tall bay tree. Now in the last video I said sweet bay, but I think more commonly it would be bay laurel. Now that spot's pretty much unchanged. There's a really nice little mini waterfall. No tracks down here. I walked some of this before I let them out a little bit further up. And all I had seen so far were raccoon and squirrel prints. Got another wild azalea. And one right there. And back in here somewhere I saw a nice little poplar. Very small one. And you see nice little trails like this right here. The goats won't come down here. But places like this, where you can go down, these are favorites for the deer to go across. You'll see a lot of tracks. Ooh, sliding down there. You see a lot of tracks where the deer have been through. Right there. It's a little bit big for a raccoon. I can't quite see it and I can't get over there to it too well. But down here also, there's a few spots where the fox like to be at. You guys look picture perfect with the sun behind you there. Let's get back up. Sometimes I'll use these little roots here or some strong saplings on the edge to help make sure I don't fall down coming up here. There's a nice bend right here of the branch. With the woodpeckers in the background. And right above us, what do you know? We've got an American beech. All those pretty little gold leaves. And the bark of these is quite beautiful. All the different little, almost calico patterns on some of them. Now, seeing back before I let them out, when I was up further, I did see some areas where the deer had been on their trails coming through. Another big, beautiful bay. And one of those quartz rocks I was mentioning. There's a few of those out here, you'll see. There's one right back there too. We've got some bark down here off the tree that fell over at some point. And almost the bark on that one's more together where it looks like it was a persimmon. But here we have something interesting. And I didn't know. Now, oh yeah, that probably came off of this or was next to it. This definitely looks more like persimmon bark, these little square knobs. But we have something interesting around this. Check out all these holes right here. And I've seen them do this before, and I never knew what they were doing, and I never knew what caused these, but it's little woodpeckers that make their way around the tree and peck out those little spots there, which is a really neat thing to see. So whenever I see a tree with all those little holes on it, then I know somebody's been checking out this tree. I've got a lot of ferns that grow down by the water, and there's a lot of flattened ones right here, not growing up like they normally do. So somebody's been stepping or laying in that area. Another example of how the root systems are right next to the water. We've had a deal of washout right here. This was up about as high as this side over here, and it's dropped down quite a bit, which happens when you get a lot of rain. And it washes through there. And your son's trying to take off by himself. This is why you have bells on, so we can keep up with you. No tracks down here. But there's a section. It might actually be right here. See where there's a smaller little segment trailing up from the main path? There's a section, I followed it before, I think that's it right there. We can actually see where the water is coming out of the ground and feeding into the branch. I know I compare to being at my grandmother's sometimes, but I spent a lot of time as a kid out in the woods whenever I would be there, and lots of exploring. And a little story. They had a lot of natural little, I guess you'd say, springs feeding in different parts of the property. And so, at one point when I was real young, I decided to have a pond dug. Part of the old section of property had a pond on it, but it had been sold off years ago, so the section of property she still had did not have an active little pond on it, so they dug one. And all those little runoffs helped to feed it. And one of the most interesting things, and I never understood it until I got older, was that when they dug really deep down for that pond, yeah, you can see where it's coming from back here in the woods and running down. But when they dug that pond, they were pulling up huge rocks with seashells in them. And I didn't understand that. I wondered why there were shells basically out in the middle of the woods where they had been digging. A little bit later on, got older, we looked at some of the area where they had taken and moved that dirt out, where there were big hunks of rocks, and we would look through and see the shells that were in the rocks. Eventually we started finding shark's teeth in that area. And that was very confusing. And then I wondered why we were finding not only shells, but shark's teeth that would come up and wash up when it rained. Found quite a bit of them. Very small ones, but clear shark's teeth. And essentially, all of this, the shells were fossils. And the shark's teeth And shells were from a time when that section of land was once underwater, under the ocean. I can't give you the exact history of all of that, and the hows and whys and time period. But that's what it was, is from so long ago, that area being a part of, the ocean, essentially. And so there was no telling how old any of those fossils were, or those shark's teeth. My cousin had a few, a friend of mine had found some, and I had one that I had found, and it's been gone for a long time now, but I still remember finding those down there. There's a place, I can't remember where it's at exactly, but there is a place called, I think, Sharktooth Creek in Alabama. And you go in and you can pan and find shark's teeth in this little creek they have. And there are a lot of different groups that will go to, I think, quarries and different areas and look for fossils. So I always look. It's a long shot for right here, but every time I'm down here, I keep my eyes peeled to see if I can find something. Find a piece of stone that has a fossil in it, or find a random shark's tooth. I haven't found anything yet, but I still look. But once, my very first little artifact I found, I had a short on the channel here about it, which taught me a lot, because I kind of just thought everything that was shaped like that was considered an arrowhead, and I learned that it was a knife point, most likely. But I found a real nice, a little bit broken, but a really nice example of a quartz knife point down here in the branch once. I haven't found any more. I do still look when I'm looking for other things, but haven't found any more. Except for one whole one I found up. Get this little spider, he's on my hand. I had to drop him off, put him back on the branch. But I did find one whole knife point up on the trail, and that was really nice. We've got right down there, if you can see them, there are some raccoon tracks. That's a big, healthy raccoon. A lot of the time, those bigger tracks, there are some very large male raccoons out here. It's crazy when you see how big they are. Got a little bit of standing water still in this little section over here. You guys are going to have to go up the side of the hill there. This is the first time they've actually been right down here by the water. It's the first time we've had a little accessible area to get so close. I can't remember if we've talked about it before, but it's easy to tell the tracks of these goats versus deer. The goats have a more rounded and splayed out print. They don't have those real sharp points on the end like deer do, up towards the tip of the print. And their hoof prints are not also as close together. So if we're ever out on the trail and see some tracks, and I wonder, oh, maybe those are some deer tracks there, I can look up close at them and see whether that's just from the goats. Now we are getting close. I believe we're almost back up. We came off the main trail behind the cabin, and we've been walking down the woods, and we are coming up close to the backside of their pen. Let's see you get up the hill. There you go. Good footwork. So we've made quite a bit of distance here. Be careful. I'm also watching them. They're very careful about their footing, but there are some random deep holes that appear. And we have surely almost hurt ourselves before stepping in a hole, feeling like we're gonna twist our ankles, so I've got to be real careful with them. Now it's funny, I'm not sure what type they are, but down in these deeper little sections here, you'll see some little minnows. Not terribly big, maybe an inch or two long. There goes one now. And I'm not sure what they are. I've seen at least 2 different types before. We also have different species of little frogs, as well as every so often you'll see a crawfish. Now right here we've got a little trail. Looks like a small animal, maybe rabbit. Okay, yeah, we're back over here right by their pen, actually. This is the segment where water runs all the way from the trail down the hill, comes into this gully, and then feeds into the branch. So that's why you see this area here where all the leaves are parted and it's just stones and dirt. It's because this is our little runoff segment here. Some more raccoon tracks. Still no deer. I'm very surprised. They'll come down here and get water quite a bit. Another beautiful right there beech tree. Now there was right, let's see if we can see it. You see that right there? There's a deer dropping. I haven't been back here with them in a while. So we've got a little bit of deer sign. It's older though. This is the same branch where we'll sometimes find glass bottles. I'll usually find them further up because that's where the little washout is, where they come from. You do find them sometimes out in the woods, but every so often they'll wash up down here. And we'll make some videos identifying the bottles, seeing what time frame they're from, maybe what contents they held. Looking for a better spot to go down right here. This is the normal place. This section, there's a deep hole right there, but this is one main trail that gets used for everything to come down to the water, including us. And the special part about this, in our last video talking about our sweet cattle dog that we had, She loved to come down this trail with me right here and come up to the water. Now that is random. That is a piece of rebar. And I don't know whether that's stuck in that big stone or if that just washed and stood up like that. Careful, goats. Is that in the stone? It is. My boots are getting in the water. Yeah. I've never noticed this. It makes me think at some point, years prior, somebody tried to dam that up. What do you think? You usually don't want to come down by the water with me. You picked a weird way to get back from there. Hi. And here's something that's been here for quite a few years. I think it's actually been here nearly 10 years. This tree rotted and fell down. And for all that time, the inside has been used as a little bit of a pathway. The critters used this and walked down to the water. Possum, squirrel, raccoon, they would follow that down to the water. And right down there, lots of raccoon tracks. Now we're back up to where last big series of storms before this past week, where the storms knocked down a red maple and it fell across the branch. But the thing about that red maple is it was a stubble tree. One stump with two split-offs. And this side to our right is the first that fell off. And in the next storm, parts to the left fell off. All that high wind, and as you can see, inside of that was really rotten. Now the outside of the tree looked great. Couldn't really have told unless you looked up higher, you saw some of the holes in the tree. Saw some of the markings from woodpeckers, but a lot of this down towards the bottom was rotten. But as you go up, look how large that is right there. As you go up, a lot of this was very solid. Good for firewood or put them on the sawmill. We've still got to bring all this up, but it is so heavy how large these logs are that it puts a lot of strain on that forestry winch we have. So they've been very difficult to get out of the woods. We did get one segment of this, and then we got all the segments off of this side because this side was smaller, so it wasn't as heavy. And then, as nature will have it, from the stump, this red maple has started to sprout again. So I'm curious to see if we'll get some leaves on it this spring. Now, cool part about walking in this area with the goats at the right time of year is that this area, with all of this brush cover, is actually a favorite for eastern bluebirds. We will see them out here quite a bit. Huge group of them last year down here. You can hear some fussing. I think it's a tufted titmouse. Way, there he goes, flying off that way. Oh no, there's another one. There we go. Yeah, they were up there in the tree fussing. A little bit soft down there. Gotta be careful. But we've done a little bit longer video, even though we had half a battery. There's a nice little woodpecker hole in part of that old red maple. So I'm not sure how much battery we've got left here. So we will walk up to the trail and close out this little video. Again, we've got all sorts of random content, different things we've put on here video-wise. So this might not be up your alley, but some of you might enjoy it. Taking a walk with the goats, seeing what all we come across. But let us know if you like the walking and talking, or if you enjoy just a quiet walk. Just hearing the goats, the breeze, and the birds. The weather is getting to me. We've got days coming up where it's anticipated to be about 11 degrees as a low. Well, come on. Good boy. Good boy. I know I was going to whistle for you if you hadn't come along with me yet. I could see where you were. Come on. Come here. He said no thanks. And we've got days coming up where it's anticipated to be somewhere around 11 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I think it was yesterday, the high was like somewhere around 60 degrees. So it's been fluctuating a lot. Had a bunch of storms, and then it's going to turn around and get so cold it'll be iced over. So got to be careful. Get these guys bedded down real nice. With some full tummies. Now that's another red maple that went down, rotten inside. But this is the hunk of that right side of the red maple, that really big end. And it pulled it all the way up the hill, but backing the tractor up to it right here, even on the trail, it's so heavy, it wouldn't even lift it up a little bit to drag it. So we're gonna have to try again with sliding it. But the goats actually like to stand up here. Big man will get on there occasionally, stand up and try to reach over and eat some brush off of it. But again, oh, now see, as I said something about it, then you do it when I'm not looking. Do let us know if you have enjoyed the videos, whether you hope for less talking, more natural noise, or if you like to learn a little bit as we go. That was Goofy. I don't think she wants to play. When he was little, they used to play. But they don't now. And Yusuke has never been one for play. He's always been a real quiet guy. It's the bucket we moved over there. And it looks a bit bare out here because it is wintertime. It is. It is. Goofy. You barely come up to your pop's belly. You barely come up to his belly. So it does look a bit bare out here because a lot of stuff's died off. But one good thing about this, getting out with them, walking down the trail, is they'll help us keep the side of the path clear when everything starts to come back. Look at that. They're good about getting up and standing on trees and reaching up for things they want to eat, but they can just actually rear up on their hind legs for a little bit and pull stuff down and eat it. We're into this right here, some wild blackberry vines. They're dried out. So that's a dead vine, and there's a live one right here. There's a green one. Right here we have honeysuckle, our wild honeysuckle that has a yellow and white bit of blooms to it that the hummingbirds really enjoy. But again, a long video here. There's an example of the goat track. The toe, this is where they're walking this way. The toe is not as pointed, and their foot is more splayed out. The deer, the toe section is really close together, and the back is more splayed out than the front. This is another area I will keep my eyes open at because this is where I found my first whole knife point at. So I always look when it rains when I'm walking, see if we can find anything. But we hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I didn't leave, I'm right here. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We thank you so much for following along with the goat family and walking in the woods, this time going down towards the branch. It's really nice to walk down there because now, after all that rain, it pushed a lot of that leaf litter out of the way so you can see it really nice. So hopefully that was enjoyable. Again, hopefully you have a wonderful weekend, or if you're watching after the weekend, that you have a great day. We thank you so much for joining us at the homestead. We'll see you again in our next video. Take care.